we are finally given the opportunity to take a look at the Founders Edition card, namely the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition, which is probably the closest to NVIDIA's performance targets for the GeForce RTX 3070. Given the $499 price bracket that it occupies, we do foresee this being NVIDIA's most popular GeForce RTX 30 series, especially when NVIDIA claims that it will be on par with yesteryear's GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, which was twice the price. Based on the GA104 GPU, the GeForce RTX 3070 is currently NVIDIA's baby Ampere graphics card, and the Founders Edition just illustrates the fact by sporting a significantly smaller cooler than its bigger brethren. But we'll probably talk more about that later. Let's get into it right away. Let's start with the unboxing. The packaging of the GeForce RTX 3070 is pretty simple, with silver lines running across the black box. The only indicator of the card that you're getting is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 text on it. On the back, you get a sticker telling you what you're getting in the box, and that's about it. Simple and sleek, just like how we like it. Once you lift the lid, you get to see the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition in full glory, complete with a slight tilt for the extra appeal. It's like unboxing an iPhone, except that it's even fancier thanks to the angle. The card itself feels extremely solid due to the excessive use of metal elements all across the card, and it feels great in hand. We will take a closer look at it in a bit. Under the graphics card is a small box which contains all the documentation as well as the 8-pin to 12-pin power adapter. Now, the card itself. As mentioned earlier, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition is just overkill when it comes to the metal bits. Aside from the PCB, fan and power connector, I can't actually find any part of the card that's not metal. Similar to the other GeForce RTX 30 series Founder Edition cards, NVIDIA went with a gunmetal grey and black color scheme, which looks super sleek. You get two fans on the same side, which is slightly different from the arrangement on the higher end cards, but regardless, you still get plenty of airflow through the card, as NVIDIA seems to have made it their thing this year to have airflow going out through the backplate. A huge cutout in the backplate allows for hot air to exhaust directly, and a rather interesting thing to note is the way the NVIDIA designed the gunmetal grey frame we mentioned earlier. So instead of encasing the fans in an 8-like pattern, you get a Superman S with the sides open. This allows the fans to push hot air out through the sides as well, but as you would expect, the motherboard side doesn't allow for much air to leave. I do believe NVIDIA did think about that, as the rear half, which has its open end towards the motherboard, has a cutout for the air to exhaust out through the backplate directly instead. Now, we already have mentioned the backplates cut out quite a few times, but let's talk about the backplate itself. The backplate here sports a rib pattern to break up the monotony of a flat aluminum sheet, but I think most of our attention will probably be drawn towards the cutout with its perfectly angled fins. Moving on, over the I/O bracket, you get a single HDMI 2.1 port as well as 3 DisplayPort 1.4a outputs. There's also a large vent here for some of the hot air to exhaust out, but as the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition is not a blower card, there's not going to be too much hot air leaving the case this way. As a whole, the card is very minimalistic, taking up just 2 PCIe slots, and it also barely extends beyond the PCIe bracket in terms of width. Lengthwise, it's even shorter than ATX motherboards, so any case that can fit ATX motherboards should have no issue with the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition. In fact, I do believe most recent ITX cases should also fit this card with room to spare. The only slight bummer I can see is probably the lack of LEDs, but I guess given its minimalism across the board, this is ideal. It is time to talk about the performance now. In superposition, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition scores a good 10,582 points, which unfortunately is still quite far behind the ROG Strix GeForce RTX 2080 Ti OC Edition. It is however significantly faster than the GeForce RTX 2080 OC, which is the $699 card in 2018. In 3D Mark x Pi, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition does come out on top of the ROG Strix GeForce RTX 2080 Ti OC Edition, but the factory overclock that ASUS applied on the tough gaming GeForce RTX 3070 OC does blow it away. Meanwhile, in Port Royal, we see that the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition comes just slightly below the ROG Strix GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, although as you can see with the tough gaming version of the GeForce RTX 3070, a slight manual OC should close the gap. In gaming, I do believe that the GeForce RTX 3070 is not meant for 4K gaming, with frame rates being below 50 frames per second in the games we have tested. It is not an experience I would recommend to anyone unless you're okay with lowering the graphical fidelity to enjoy it at this resolution. In Control DXR, for example, we are seeing just 21 frames per second, which is nigh unplayable. At 1440p, the results are much better and we can see above 60 FPS in most games, which is the bare minimum of what I consider playable. 1080p is going to be a waste of the horsepower available with the GeForce RTX 3070, but you can experience high refresh rate gaming in most titles at this resolution. Moving on to thermals, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition hovers at around 76 Celsius throughout our 30-minute superposition stress test. The average clocks observed is 1817 MHz, which is pretty good and also quite consistent. The fans only kick in at 60 Celsius, which is pretty high, but they only spinned up to 1929 RPM in our test, which was still reasonably quiet. The fans do turn off at lower temperatures, which we monitored to be at 34 Celsius when it started turning off. In comparison, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition does run hotter than the tough gaming GeForce RTX 3070 OC Edition, but I guess that's to be expected when you consider that the latter has 3 fans and is also significantly thicker at 2.7 slots. Now, aside from NVIDIA's claims of matching the GeForce RTX 2080 Ti at half the price, they also claimed a very significant leap over the previous $499 card, which was the GeForce RTX 2070. We don't have an example of that to test against the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition, but what we do have is an overclocked ROG Strix GeForce RTX 2070 Super Advanced Edition. And with this card, the average difference is about 29%, but certain games like Control with DXR sees a huge 62% gap. It is probably worth noting that while the gap is 62%, we are looking at a difference of 13 frames per second versus 21 frames per second, which means that neither of these cards are actually offering a playable experience. Still, it is a good indicator of the massive improvement coming from Turing when it comes to ray tracing performance. At 1440p, the gap closes somewhat, with the difference being 25% on average. However, we are still seeing a gap of 43% in Control with DXR, which further corroborates the huge upgrade in terms of ray tracing that NVIDIA brings with the Ampere architecture. As a whole, the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition is an amazing upgrade for the $499 price bracket. It is also very compact, which is a great thing for SFF PC enthusiasts. We can see great performance all the way up to 1440p and even 4K if you're okay with lower graphic settings. It operates silently, and I can't emphasize enough on just how solid this card feels in the hand. Now onto the cons. Aside from the fact that I can't get it in Malaysia, it also runs rather warm in comparison to partner cards, and the 12-pin power connector is definitely unnecessary here. While its bigger brothers need 2 8-pin power connectors, which would have required more PCB space, the 3070 Founders Edition only needs 1 8-pin connector, and it isn't that much larger than the 12-pin connector in the first place. So, the fact that you need an adapter doesn't exactly make sense. Not to mention that you can't use your current set of sleeved 8-pin PCIe power cables, which will be a bummer for many enthusiasts. And that's it for our review of the GeForce RTX 3070 Founders Edition. What do you think? Would you get it over partner cards, assuming it is available in your region? Let us know in the comments. Also, make sure to give us a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and like our Facebook page. I'm Winston Chan from Porter.net, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!